So I saw more than 130 films released in 2024. Which 10 do I think are the best? Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. So I've gotten my worst of video out of the way. Now I can talk about what I think are the 10 greatest films of 2024. The 10 that really spoke to me, that I loved with my full heart. Let's start with number 10, Dune Part 2. So I very much believe if Dune Part 2 had come out in October, November, or December or something, it would be doing a whole lot better during this award season. I think putting it out at the beginning of March 2024 did end up hurting it a little bit because once we get to January 2025, I mean, that's a long time since that film came out. And it was initially delayed from 2023. And I think that has hurt Dune Part 2 when it comes to the awards conversation, at least a little bit. But you know what? This has to be in my top 10 list of the best movies of the year. It is a frickin' knockout from director Denis Villeneuve. I think it's a much better film than the first Dune from 2021. I liked that movie. I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good. But I couldn't fully connect with the first Dune. The second Dune, I thought it just exceeded my expectations. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was more compelling, more entertaining, richer characters, an incredible variety of actors and performances in that movie. The action is strong. It's very captivating all the way through. And by the end, I was just so excited for the next installment, Dune Messiah. I can't wait to see where this saga goes next. I'm so happy Denis Villeneuve is coming back for one more movie, because it does feel like there's a little bit more to say in this world from Villeneuve. But yeah, Dune Part 2, I think in a year, 2024, that was kind of disappointing when it came to the big studio spectacle blockbusters. I guess we can put Wicked on that list. I mean, it's kind of that. But in terms of action films, movies we got in the early part of the year, the summer movie season, most of that output I didn't really connect with. I think Dune Part 2 is the best blockbuster film of 2024. Number 9, music by John Williams.
And it's almost like chopsticks. He just used a couple of fingers. And he went, bomb, 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 bomb.
So I just watched this documentary a few nights ago. I had my 9 out of 10 for this list, and I had 5 titles that were flirting with number 10 or number 9, and I wasn't really excited about any of them. I was yeah, I could put that in my top 10 list, but I don't know, there was something holding me back. And then just 4 nights ago, I watched Music by John Williams, this documentary on Disney+. And I was just enraptured every second of this movie. I mean, is it the greatest documentary ever made? Is it the best documentary of 2024? Probably not. I feel like some people might say, well, it's a little surface level. You don't really get into the psyche of John Williams and who he is as a person and all of his backstory and things. You could make little criticisms about the movie not being as hard hitting or something as it potentially could be by a different director. But I was really taken with this film. I grew up with the music of John Williams, as so many of us have. I mean, he has been a very important part of our lives as movie lovers. No matter what kind of movies you're into, different genres and things, he has been all over cinema since the 1960s, really. I mean, he has been a part of so many movies going back decades and decades. He's in his early 90s now. And what I loved about this documentary was that it basically covers everything. It's not it's just the collaboration between John Williams and Steven Spielberg, although that's a big part of the documentary. Like, we go into his early work in the 50s and 60s. We have a segment on Home Alone. We have a segment about his work with Oliver Stone. We have a segment about his Oscar wins and all of his many nominations. Like, anything you're looking for in this documentary about John Williams, basically it's there, outside of like, maybe it could have a little bit more about his personal life, but we touch on his background, like his upbringings, how he got into creating music, how he got into scoring movies. There's a segment about his first wife dying, kind of tragically, unexpectedly, and he had 3 kids at home in the 1970s, and he had to stop working for a while. And there was a lot I learned about John Williams in this movie. It was very inspiring. This is a very inspirational film about a great artist. I was really taken with it. And by the end, like the last scene, like the last minute of the movie, I was in tears. That's how much this movie affected me. And then the end credits, we get his score to Hook. One of my 5 favorite John Williams scores is Hook. That's the first Steven Spielberg movie I saw in a theater, and it ends the movie. So I was really happy with this. If for whatever reason this documentary has passed you by, go on Disney Plus, check it out. It is worth your time. Number 8, Civil War.
I'm just saying.
Just what?
Well, you're American, okay?
Okay. What kind of American are you?
So when it comes to award season, as I just talked about with Dune Part 2, if your movie comes out in March or April or something, typically it's forgotten about, right? Once we get to the next January, February, like outside of the occasional anomaly, like in Everything Everywhere All at Once, a Get Out, sometimes it happens. Typically, those movies released at the beginning of the year are forgotten, and one film I have maintained for the entire year is one of the year's best is Civil War, directed by Alex Garland. That movie took my breath away. It's not perfect. There are some elements of the pacing, some elements of that third act. I didn't love like 100% of it, but it's really strong. Great performances, amazing cinematography. There are moments of that movie I have not forgotten, especially Jesse Plemons. Jesse Plemons in that film, I still think is worthy of an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. That's how impactful his small role in that movie was. I think Alex Garland is such a gifted filmmaker, he doesn't play it safe. Like, think what you want of Ex Machina and Annihilation and Men and now Civil War. I mean, his movies make you sit up and take notice. And this latest film from him, it really did impress me upon that first watch. I have seen it one more time a couple months ago, and I just really dig it. I do feel like it should be a little bit more part of this award season. I think it's that good. It's compelling on a thematic level. It's compelling just as an entertaining movie, an entertaining story. I think it's really quite something. Civil War makes my top 10 list. Number 7, Saturday Night.
On page 12, what is clam diving?
I believe the act of harvesting mollusks.
So here's another one. To be frank, I'm kind of surprised by the lack of enthusiasm for Jason Reitman's Saturday Nights. Like, it premiered at the Telluride Film Festival. I was hearing great things. Then I got to see it in Toronto like a week later, and I loved it. I loved everything about this movie. I'm a lifelong SNL fan. And to get this behind the scenes look at the first taping of the very first episode in 1975, I thought was very well done, very funny, very entertaining, an amazing ensemble cast. Gabriel LaBelle is so appealing as a young Lorne Michaels. I was so excited to see him get that Golden Globe nomination. Like, that was something. But I feel like this movie is better than just a lone Golden Globe nomination. I'm not getting the sense it's going to be an Oscar nominee outside of like a surprise nomination in screenplay or something. Saturday Night should be doing better right now because in terms of what it sets out to do, it succeeds beautifully. Like, the roaming camera, the way we go from character to character and this segment to that segment, the way Jason Reitman uses time in the movie to add to the tension as we get closer to the beginning of the first taping. I really, really enjoy Saturday Night. I can't wait to watch it again. I was so stunned by how quickly it was over. I was like, that was on for an hour, right? That was like 1 hour, and it had been like an hour and 40 minutes, hour 45. I could not believe it. Usually, even if I'm into a movie, I can still kind of feel the length. I can be like, okay, this is working, but you know, we're at like 90 minutes. I'm getting the sense that we're getting closer to the end, and that did not happen in Saturday Nights. Like, it cut to the end credits, and I was like, it's over already? I feel like this thing just got started. So yeah, I think it's really great. If for some reason Saturday Night has passed you by, give it a watch. It's really, really fun. Number 6, The Substance. So 2024 was a remarkable year for horror cinema, for genre movies, films that are scary or weird or experimental or whatever it is. I mean, I don't know if you would necessarily label The Substance as like just a horror film. It has elements of that genre. It's also science fiction. It's also satire. It's a lot of different things. The Substance is a variety of genres, really. And every single genre that's in that movie works. It's all like impeccably done by writer-director Coralie Farja. What an amazing filmmaker she is, and what a huge swing The Substance has turned out to be. I mean, that movie could have crashed and burned. As Demi Moore has talked about in more than one interview I've seen of hers, like she read the scripts and she thought, well, this could be frickin' great, or this could be a disaster. And sometimes you just have to have the faith, right, in the director. I mean, she had already made Revenge from a few years ago, and that is a frickin' great movie. Like, very violent, very suspenseful. That movie almost made my top 10 list of that year. It's that good. So I knew going into The Substance, we were in for something special. And it was even better than I expected, honestly. Like, I knew I was going to love it. And it's still, like, I mean, it just blew me away. Where that narrative goes in the second half, I was not really prepared. I was like, whoa, okay, like, we're going there now? Oh my God, now this is happening? And it's so funny to me now, in January of 2025, because back in September, I was like, I love this movie, it's so great, it's not really gonna be an awards movie. Like, it's just too gross. Like, that's not gonna happen. And now here we have like Demi Moore, the frontrunner potentially to win the Oscar for Best Actress. That is freaking crazy. I would never have expected that a few months ago. And I'm here for it. I love it. As I've talked about in other videos, I grew up with Demi Moore. I think she's great, and she's never really gotten a fantastic movie role that can show off all of her talents. Like, this is the one that finally did it. The one where she really got a chance to shine. And I'm just so excited for her right now. I think she's so great in this movie, as is Margaret Qualley. I think those were the two right actors for those characters in The Substance. And Coralie Farja just firing on all cylinders here in a year of some really great horror films like The First Omen and Abigail and Longlegs and Nosferatu, of course. Like, in terms of movies that approach, at least, the genre of horror for 2024, the best of the lot is absolutely The Substance. I know it's a movie that might not work for everyone, but if you go with that story, like, you give yourself over to The Substance in every way, like, you are going to have just the greatest time at the movies. This truly is one of the best films of 2024. Number 5, The Wild Robots.
Gosling 0186. There. You see what I did? His numbering is out of sequence.
So an animated film does not show up on my top 10 list every year. I feel like it only happens every 2 to 3 maybe. Like, there's so many great animated movies made every year, but they don't always speak to me. They don't always connect with me. Like the Pixar films of the 90s and the 2000s, like that was an incredible run. But in the last decade, there's only been an animated film I really loved with my full heart here and there. Like the last one I really took to was Luca in 2021. That was my second or my third favorite film of that year. So since Luca, I don't think there's been a movie that's made my top 10 list, but that ends now because The Wild Robot does take my number 5 slots. This is the only movie in this entire list I saw in a theater this year twice. I saw The Wild Robot at the Toronto Film Festival. I loved it so much. As soon as I got home, I was like, I'm taking my nephews and we're seeing this thing on the biggest screen possible in my town. And it was just as effective and moving the second time. This is a very special movie. And I have to be kind of honest, it's shocking to me that it's not doing better in the animated feature category. Like so far, I'm like, this movie isn't winning? I think this is a really outstanding animated movie filled with so much heart and emotion and creativity and action. It all works. Everything from those first few minutes to that incredible ending. I am so excited. There's going to be sequels. I think they're making a couple more of the films. There are 3 books, maybe more. So I can't wait. Bring on more The Wild Robot. I will be all here for it. But if all we were getting was this one movie, The Wild Robot, it would be enough. Because just frickin' wow. This film is astonishing. It's so great for families, for kids, for anyone really. Anyone just looking for a really effective story that you will never forget. The Wild Robot. Wow. I think this movie is flat out amazing. Number 4, The Brutalist.
May I keep these? Of course you may.
What a miracle this movie is. In so many ways, The Brutalist feels like a movie we would get in like the 1970s. Like an auteur film that's 3 hours plus, that studios at the time in that decade were funding, were putting up money for. Like, we're allowing great filmmakers to tell their stories as long as they needed to. If they needed 3 hours and 35 minutes, go for it. Today, we don't have that filmmaking landscape at all. So that Brady Corbet, even got the chance to make this movie the way he wanted to, and to succeed so brilliantly all the way through with the right cast, the right script, beautiful cinematography and editing and sound design and score. Everything about The Brutalist is pretty frickin' remarkable, and it was the second film I saw at TIFF last September. I knew walking out of the theater, I had just seen something extraordinary. I knew it was going to be a big part of award season. I still think it could win Best Picture and Best Director at the Oscars. I still think that's possible, and it would be well-deserved. An epic film that's not about spectacle, really. It's not about action. It's not about, entertaining the viewer, really. It's compelling, of course, in its own way, but you never get the sense that Brady Corbet is he's trying to structure the screenplay and things to make it more entertaining for the viewer. He's interested in people, in pain, in growth, in surprising us with different beats in this very unconventional narrative. Adrian Brody, Guy Pearce, and Felicity Jones give Oscar-worthy performances in this movie. All 3 should be nominated at the Academy Awards. That better happen, come on. There is just such a richness to this movie. I feel like if you're a movie fan, this has to be in your top 10 list, right? I can't imagine if you really love cinema to go see The Brutalist and walk out and be like, it was fine. It's quite something. We don't get movies like this anymore. And when we do, we have to appreciate them. We have to support them. We have to nominate them for lots of Oscars. And we need to put them on our top 10 list of the year. Number 3, Challengers.
How are you gonna look at me if I still can't beat Patrick Zweig?
Just like this.
Oh my god, the high I was feeling walking out of Challengers back in April of 2024. I walked in feeling pretty good. I thought I would like it. But, you know, any movie that opens at like the end of April, I thought, well, if it was really, really great, wouldn't they hold it back to fall or something? Maybe give it like a prime release in the summer. Late April, I was a little suspicious of that. So I was thinking, oh, this will be like a 7 out of 10. It's Luca Guadagnino, it's Zendaya and Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor, a great cast about tennis players. This will be fun. I'm gonna like this. I did not expect it to be that freaking great. Like, is this movie really not going to get a Best Picture nomination at the Oscars? Is it really not getting that? Like, in a field of 10, Challengers should be there. Like, I feel like just because it came out way back in April, it might miss Picture at the Oscars. Like, it's not going to win. It would never win, of course. But it should be nominated. If Challengers had come out in September, October, November, it would be doing better. Let's be honest. It would be getting into a few more places. And I do think it would be more competitive for nominations, at least, at the Oscars. It's a bummer to me to think it might only get into one category, Best Score, which it just won at the Globes. That was great. The score of Challengers is my favorite of 2024. The way I was vibing to that score in the theater, it was like a rock concert. I mean, there were some sequences, I felt like I was levitating out of my seat. Like, it was that powerful. It was that effective. I was so taken with the music in that movie. The storytelling is fascinating. The performances by all three of those actors are great. And I loved every minute of it. I mean, talk about a memorable ending. I was like, how are they going to end this story with this final competition? What are they going to do to make this work? And like, it easily could have been off-putting the way the film ends, but the way it's structured, the way it's edited, how we cut to the end credits, it's perfection. Luca Guadagnino hit this one out of the park, to be sure. And I don't know how you feel about Challengers now, but even though it's been many, many, many months since it opened last April, I still think it triumphs over most of what we got in 2024. This movie frickin' rocks. Number 2, Baby Girl.
I think the opposite.
You think I don't like power?
I think you like to be told what to do.
I love this movie so much. I love everything about Baby Girl. And since I saw it at the Toronto Film Festival, I have been championing that lead performance by Nicole Kidman. I thought she was worthy of getting in at SAG, getting in at the Oscars. Outside of a miracle right now, like a miracle, she is not getting the Oscar nomination. And that does hurt my heart a little bit because I think it's her best work on film in more than a decade. And I'm like, so she's going to have Oscar nominations for Lion and Being the Ricardos, but like her phenomenal, revelatory performance in Baby Girl is just going to go unnoticed, unnominated at the Oscars. That does not feel right to me. I think Nicole Kidman is worthy of that Academy Award nomination. She is so bold and courageous and fascinating to watch in this movie. She is taking chances. She is going to places we almost never see her go. Like in all of her movies, all of her television projects. Baby Girl for Nicole Kidman felt like the right role for her at the right time. She obviously got in with a very talented writer-director, Helena Rain, who did Bodies, 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 and has given us really a remarkable movie in Baby Girl. It's not like an erotic thriller the way you would think of like Fatal Attraction, but it's not just like a domestic drama. It's not just about like an older woman, pursuing a younger man. There is so much going on in this story, and you understand where each character is coming from, including the character played by Harris Dickinson, who is really unusual and complex. I love the performance by Antonio Banderas. He gets some chances to shine in the third act. And, I felt like at the beginning of Baby Girl, I was like, we've all seen a story like this before. How is Rain going to surprise us in her screenwriting, in her directing, in these characters and the lots? And Baby Girl at all times feels totally fresh. There's nothing derivative in that story. I felt like there were so many wonderful surprises all the way to the end. And what the great Nicole Kidman gets to show off in that movie is astonishing. This is a woman in her late 50s who's making like 1,000 things a year in movies and TV. Pretty much every month or two, she's in a new project, and some of them are good, some of them are forgettable. We don't typically get Nicole Kidman these days in a movie as strong as Baby Girl. She is a force of nature in this film. I'm so happy that it's doing pretty well at the box office. Like, it's one of her biggest hits at the movies in a long time. I think that's very well deserved. I'm bummed that she's probably not getting the Oscar nomination for Best Actress, but that takes nothing away from my appreciation, my passion, really, for Baby Girl. Like Challengers, I do think Baby Girl is also a masterpiece, and it came close to being my favorite film of 2024. But of course, the number one slot is not Baby Girl, it's not Challengers, it's the latest from Sean Baker. My favorite film of the year is Anora.
First, I'm getting a lawyer. Then I'm gonna sue Yvonne and you, and I'm gonna walk away with half because I didn't sign a prenup.
So to be perfectly honest, I knew Anora was going to be a masterpiece, was going to be in at least my top 3 favorite films of 2024 after the opening shots. After the opening shot, I went, oh. It was like, this is going to be really good. This isn't just going to be an entertaining watch and, it won the Palme d'Or at Cannes and I'm hearing good things about that lead performance by Mikey Madison. It'll be good. I'll like this. I knew very early on watching Anora that this was something truly special. And what an exciting movie to watch unfold, knowing basically nothing. I walked into Anora pretty cold. I had seen a trailer, I think. I had a basic idea of what the setup of the movie was, but I had no idea what was coming in Acts 2 and 3. And talk about sitting up in my seats, eyes wide, mouth agape, unbelievable, stunned at the things that were unfolding in that narrative. I did not expect this movie to turn into a screwball comedy for 30 minutes plus in the second act. That was I couldn't believe it, how funny this movie is. I must have laughed in Anora, not just chuckles, big, hearty laughs. There must have been 30 to 40 watching that movie at the Toronto Film Festival. I laughed more in Anora than maybe any other film of 2024. Any comedy I might have watched last year. There weren't many really, standouts in that genre. Anora is very funny. It's one of the most unpredictable screenplays of the year. I never quite knew where the story was heading. I did not think what was going to happen in the third act was going to take place. I was like, oh, that's what this character is up to. That's what he's thinking and doing. And that's where Anora is going to go in that third act. Writer-director Sean Baker kind of plays his audience like Hitchcock did, like a piano, obviously in different genres, in that you never quite know where we're heading, and you never quite know, okay, this part's really funny, but is this going to go darker? Is there going to be a more dramatic element to the story? And of course there is. I was totally glued to my seats for that final shot of Anora. That final shot, I was like, talk about sticking the frickin' landing. I was nervous, to be honest. I was so into Anora that by the time we got to the final 10 minutes or so, I was like, don't mess up, Sean Baker. Don't mess up at the end here. Give us an ending that's worthy of this story, of this character. And boy, does he give that to us and more in this amazing film. Mikey Madison is a star. I said it in my video last September. I feel it now. I can't wait to see what she does next. I think following her performance in Anora, we are going to be seeing a lot of Mikey Madison. The best directors are going to use her in the years to come, and she is going to have one opportunity after another. I could see her getting in her long career many more Oscar nominations to come. Like, obviously her first one is coming for Anora, and she still is competitive to maybe win. We shall see. Like, I also can't wait to see where her career goes next, because just what an incredible performance she gives in Anora. I still maintain this was the performance of the year, male or female. Like, this was the best one. She creates a fascinating character from the ground up that you believe from minute one, and she gets to play comedy, she gets to play drama. The evolution, the arc of her character is so compelling. Like, by the end, you know, you just feel so sorry for her, like what she's gone through. She had this potential Cinderella story, and it all came crashing down. I have been a huge fan of Sean Baker since Tangerine and The Florida Project. What a great film. Red Rocket made my top 5 films of 2021. That movie is frickin' phenomenal. And then we get to Anora. Like, just wow. Sean Baker, one of the best filmmakers working today. I cannot wait to see what he does next. And I definitely can't wait to watch Anora over and over again throughout many years to come. 2024 was a great year for cinema. Again, I saw more than 130 films released throughout the year. But if I had to pick my favorites, like the one I loved the most, it is absolutely Sean Baker's Anora. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below what are your 10 favorite films of 2024, and I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.